I'm in it for the long haul. Hello everybody, thank you for joining me. I do truly appreciate it. Today I'm going to be doing a book haul video. I'm covering a couple of months again because times have been a little bit lean in terms of shopping and all that kind of stuff. Way too busy doing work. Never let work get in the way of the things that you really like. But sometimes you just gotta work. Anyway, work's been in the way. Busy doing all sorts of things, personal and professional and such as that. But in the months of September and October, I did pick up some pretty cool things. Some of the things I've already shown you, and now I'm going to show you some of the other things that I picked up in a variety of ways. But this time it's primarily stuff I've bought online. And I'm going to start this off right off the bat with an Amazon purchase. Ooh, I bought a book on Amazon. There's a publisher named Suntup Editions. Ever hear of it? You usually don't buy Suntup books on Amazon, but they announced a book that was going to be coming out, and I wanted to know about that book. I'd never read it before, but so many people said it was so great. I had to jump on. I mashed them buttons, and I bought the numbered edition. It's not here yet. It's not printed yet. It hasn't been shipped yet, but I'm waiting, excited for that. The book was called Winterset Hollow by a person by the name of Jonathan Edward Durham. Ever hear of it? Ever hear of him? Well, I went on the Amazon and I got a copy coming my way, and it arrived, it did arrive in the mailbox, and here it is. It's just a regular old trade paperback version of the book. Nothing too exciting here, but in them pages is where the excitement started. I'm not gonna review the book here right now, but when I started reading this book, pretty early in the book, I said, oh my God, this might be the best book I've ever read. And a third of the way through the book, I was getting nervous, saying, this may be the best book I've ever read. Halfway through, I told my wife, I might be reading the best book I've ever read. It was a great book, but by the end of it, I didn't feel like it was the best book I'd ever read. But I did love the book. I was glad I was able to secure a Suntup Editions numbered edition of that coming my way. And here it is. So here's my story of Winterset Hollow. It was a great book. I'm not going to bother telling you my problems or anything with it, but it was a great book nonetheless. But this trade softcover is illustrated. It has some pretty cool pictures in the chapter divides. It's something that when I bought it to read it, and then once I got it, I started thinking, well, I might as well just put this thing on the shelf and keep it. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll be able to get it signed. But even if I don't, it's a neat little thing to have on the shelf because it was a good book. It was a book of its kind. I think I've never read anything that I liked this much. So, great one. Very excited. I'm gonna step on to the next book. This is a book that came directly from one of my very favorite authors walking God's green earth, and that is a man by the name of Philip Fracassi. Hello, Philip. But Philip wrote a book called Boys in the Valley, and I've got a variety of versions. Earthling signed and limited edition version of it, trade hardcovers, all a variety of versions. But this was the Orbit UK, I guess you would call it a trade size softcover, kind of in between the typical mass market paperback and then a trade edition softcover. But I really wanted this one because to me this cover was amazing. This cover art and design and all that stuff, it looked so good. Better than any version of the book in my opinion, but better than most versions of most books. So I wanted to trade softcover, and I got one in, but it wasn't signed. And Philip Fracassi on the Fracassi Freaks Facebook page said, hey y'all, I got some copies of books here. If you want to buy them, I'll sign them and send them to you, just to move the meatloaf, to get the stuff out of his place, make some space, make some dough, whatever the deal was. And I wanted a signed copy. So I said, hey Phil, because that's what I call him. Hey Phil, do you mind? And he said, well, I got one for you, buddy. And he sent it to me, and he did sign it as asked. When I get stuff signed for my own reasons, I prefer to have it just signed. I don't like it signed to me or anything like that. I really have trouble explaining it, and I think it comes from the fact that when I look at other people's stuff and it's signed and I want it, I say, man, I wish I had that. And then I see it signed to them, and I say, oh, well, I don't want it anymore. I don't know. That's, what do I know? It's not like this book could ever be sold, or like I would ever have a need to sell it. But I just want it signed, and so he did. He didn't pitch a fit or anything like that. He didn't say, what are you going to do, eBay my book? Anything like that. He signed it and drew a little crossed out his name, Philip Fracassi. Great signature. He's one of those authors where the signature pretty much looks the same every time. So that's good. And then he included a cool little note with his own from the desk of Philip Fracassi, and then the Alter Publishing, or the Alter logo there. And he said, what did he say? He said this: "Hey Tim, hope you dig the UK version. Heard it's much scarier. Best, Phil." That's why I call him Phil. 10, 15, and a 23. This one was an October addition to the collection. But I'm a big fan of Philip Fracassi. I recommend you jump in. Jump in on Boys in the Valley. Jump in on A Child Alone with Strangers. Jump in with Gothic. Any one of them will do. But I put them in the order that I think I liked them the most of his novels. And he's got some story collections as well. So ring up Philip Fracassi on the internet machine. Buy some books. Read them. You'll love them. And if you don't, keep your mouth shut, okay? We don't need to hear no negative stuff. The next one in my collection that I added on my book haul tour of September and October is Escape from New York. It is the novelization, and it is cool looking. This is actually the second copy that I have, and it's a novelization, meaning it's a novel written by Mike McQuay based on the screenplay from the movie. And this was something that was very, very popular for a long time, and it's kind of died off. There's still some novelizations floating around, and I think people tend, in most parts, to consider novelizations as less than or no good or whatever, and some of them are no good. But I dig movies and I dig books, and I think when you combine them in a way where you can make them look cool, I really dig it. So I collect novelizations of movies that I like, and that's kind of the way I stick to it. I don't collect them all. I got to dig the movie, and then I want that novelization. But this one's kind of rare, kind of tough to come by, and it is Bantam Books, regular old paperback book. But this one was available on eBay. I had to buy it now. Price I could afford, so I jumped on it, bought it, got it coming my way. It's actually the second copy that I have. The first copy, I bought it on eBay years ago. I don't remember how long ago it was. And when I opened it up, somebody's name was written here in pen on the top. And I don't know who it was. I couldn't find that name anywhere in here, but it was signed by some unknown person. So I sent a message back to the seller, said, "Hey, you said this thing was great. You showed me all these pictures. You showed me a picture of the page that's written on, but it's cut off the writing part. I don't want it." And so the seller said, "Here, I'll give you a refund. Keep the book." So I kept the book. And now I got another one that doesn't have somebody's name written in it. But anyway, there's always room for another cool novelization. See, they don't take up much space either. So next up in the addition to the collection, I kind of got out of order here, but the next one I will look at is The Burglar Who Thought He Was Bogart by Lawrence Block. It is another advanced reading copy, and this one is a little bit different than most, as this was a signed limited edition. They made a bunch of them. They gave a bunch of them out, and this one is limited to 650. This one's number 249, and it is signed by another one of my absolute favorite authors walking God's green earth, and that is Lawrence Block of New York. And The Burglar Who Thought He Was Bogart is one of a series of books about a burglar named Bernard Roddenbar. And he's one of my favorite characters, and it's one of my favorite series. It's one that I started reading in, I think, the year 2000. And I just loved it. It's fun. It's kind of lighthearted. It's funny. There's some drama and some intrigue and all that kind of stuff. But it's one of those books where, for me, when I read it, at no time am I ever really stressed or worried or any of those kinds of things. It's just fun reading, and I like fun reading. But I strongly recommend the Bernie Roddenberry series. It's the same author that wrote the Matthew Scudder series, which is another one that I do like. It's a little bit more hard-boiled, a little bit more dramatic, but I kind of think I like the Bernie books better, while I do love the Scudder books as well. The first book in that series is Burglars Can't Be Choosers. I strongly recommend you go grab it, read it, and then we're right on through the set. I talked about novelizations, and I added yet another. Now, this movie is one of those movies that I say, yeah, I really like that movie, but I say more like, yeah, I like that movie. I'm not jumping up and down saying Demolition Man was great. It was one of the all-time greats. But I dig the movie. I saw it at the theater. When I saw Stallone and Wesley Snipes in their fight scene punching it out, I said, dang, that's cool. I liked it. I still like it. I'm not proud of it, but I like it. And I didn't really ever know there was a novelization. I didn't go looking for novelizations for Demolition Man, but I found out there was a novelization, and it is. On the cover, it doesn't even say who the author is. Novelizations sometimes really disrespect the author, so I got to go dig and I haven't even read this book. You almost got to kill yourself, eye strain, and all that stuff to find out who wrote it. And you know what? I don't think front nor back does it even say who the author of this book is. But you turn in here to the title page, and it is a novel by Richard Osborne based on a story by Peter M. Linkoff and Robert Renault, and a screenplay by Daniel Waters and Robert Renault and Peter M. Linkoff by Signet Books. And there you go. It does include some movie stills. A lot of the novelizations will. Just little added features to kind of tie it into the movie. Novelizations were a thing, a very important thing, in a time where you couldn't buy the movie. You could go to the theater and watch it. You could watch it on TV occasionally if they ever air it. But you couldn't have your own copy. There was no VHS or no beta or no DVDs or laser discs or streaming or digital downloads or none of that stuff. So the only real way to have your copy of the movie was to get a copy of the book. And they, some of them are very similar to movie, but many of them are very different. They're typically based on a screenplay that sometimes isn't the screenplay that's used to make the movie. So they have a screenplay, they say, okay, we're good. They hire somebody to write the book. That guy starts writing the book based on the screenplay. By the time they get to making the movie, sometimes it's very, very different. Stuff's cut by directors, stuff's changed, screenwriters go change this and that, and you end up with some very different stuff. And sometimes it's cool because it can explain things that when they made the movie, they say, okay, we don't have time to explain this, or we don't like the explanation, or what have you. But a lot of times the novelizations fill in gaps. They give backstory. Sometimes they give alternative versions of scenes and stuff like that. So glad to have that one. I'm going to read it. Looking forward to it. Next up is a good one. Suntup Editions, one of my absolute favorite publishers on God's green earth, published a book called Replay, and I had never read it, but I had a number and I wanted to keep it for a little while, so I ordered the numbered edition, and then I read the book, and I read that book with starvation and hunger. Couldn't wait to get through it, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But I never did get the artist edition. And on the secondary market recently, I found one at a price that I couldn't pass up. So I got it coming in as a mailbox. And for those of you who don't know, Suntup Editions is a publisher that publishes typically very, very nice books. And they have different tiers: lettered edition, numbered edition, artist edition. Artist editions look more traditional. It's a book with a dust jacket. They're often signed by the artist. They're not individually numbered, although they are limited. They'll tell you how many they were printed. Occasionally, they're signed by the author, if it's the, they call those classic editions, whereas they're numbered and their lettered editions are typically, if the author is alive, going to be signed by the author. Ken Grimwood wrote this book, and he had passed long before production of this book, so there's no way to have gotten him to sign it anyway. But I loved the book. I only read it because of Suntup. I loved it so, and I'm glad I bought the numbered, and I'm glad I was able to get the artist edition. So just a few things about the Suntup books. I'll show you what it looks like. The dust jacket artwork does look good, but these artist editions are equal to or greater than almost everybody else's numbered edition. You saw the artwork, you see the cloth binding, you see the embossed, stamped, two-color foil stamping on the spine. You see the Smith sewn binding, and man, it looks good, it looks tight. They are illustrated end papers. How many limited edition publishers do you buy books from that don't even do that? They are, like I said, I'll go to the back of the book here. It does tell you this edition of Replay by Ken Grimwood's limited to 1,000 copies, and it is signed by the artist Alessandro Secolder Bianchi. And there it is. There is that signature page right there. But it also illustrated, and you'll often get 6 or more illustrations in the books. All sorts of styles, all sorts of varieties. They're not all color, they're not all digital, they're not all oil, they're not all sketches. They're all sorts of different artwork, typically commissioned in a sense to find something that's going to fit the story. And I'm just going to show you some of these illustrations here in Replay. But man, I strongly recommend this book. I did love it. I didn't expect to love it. I didn't. But when I read it, man, it was amazing. And it's, you want to talk about comps. Some people compare it to Groundhog's Day because of the repetitive over and over and over again. And then also seemingly the solution that you have to find to hopefully be able to continue on. Very different than Groundhog's Day, but also it reminds folks of that. But absolutely phenomenal. Something that leaves you at times with tears, at times worried, and also it leaves you left me feeling hopeful. And there is Replay. Now, they're artist edition books. I think I got one more. Ooh, cover your eyes, darling. There may be more. I can't tell. I think that was it for the illustrations. But their books are also shipped in slipcases, and the slipcases are nice. They're sturdy, and look at here. Some people like to put them on the shelf backwards. The spine of the slipcase will tell you what book it is that you're looking at. So now we've got Replay out of the way. I got 2 more. This is a book that I bought because I was getting ready to go see Robert McCammon at Alabama Booksmith in Birmingham, Alabama for a signing, a book release party. And it was a great time. And this one came in just in time. It's an early Robert McCammon title called The Nightboat. It's the UK hardcover version published by Kindle. And it came before any other hardcovers. And like I said, I was able to get it signed in person by Robert R. McCammon. So this is a first edition, first print, UK hardcover of the early Robert McCammon novel of The Nightboat. Glad to have it. Glad to have it in the collection. It's signed now. It wasn't signed when I bought it. Signed is better. And when you get it signed yourself, that's bestest. Bestest. That's bester. Better than better. Better than the best. Something like that. Last one in this video is another Robert McCammon book. Another book that is signed also by Robert McCammon, but it is his newest Matthew Corbett installation. And this is a collection of Matthew Corbett stories, 7 Shades of Evil. And in fact, there are 8 stories. I think originally there were going to be 7 stories. And then Robert said, wait a second, I've got one more that I've got to write and put in there. So he wrote an 8th. There you go. Don't complain. I'm not either. But this one comes from Lividian Publications. It is their trade line. And I do have the signed and numbered edition ordered. It just hasn't been published or shipped yet. Beautiful dust jacket artwork. There is our cover. It's I think you'd call that I don't know, a textured paper cover, hardcover. It is Smith's sewn binding. You can see right there. So it's not a glued binding like typical trade editions have seemed to become. Colored in papers, and that's just a sticker. When I went to that book signing, they gave me a sticker to put on my chest. I took the sticker off after the show, stuck it there. It's not sticking very good, but whatever. It's a neat keepsake. It's where I got the book and from whom I got the book and all that kind of stuff. And it is signed in person by Robert McCammon as well. So looking forward to this. I do love the Matthew Corbett series. I'm probably among the folks that when it comes to Robert McCammon, I love a lot of his stuff, but the stuff I love most is that Matthew Corbett series, which is coming to an end. 2024 will be the final book in the series called Leviathan. And then he says he's all done with Matthew Corbett. Much love, but all done. Moving on to other things. And I know authors do find being kind of in a series can be very limiting, can be exhausting and tiresome and such. And a lot of publishers have longed to get out of it and to start writing other things. And Robert has said that's what he's going to do. He's got some more ideas of some other stuff. And I'm excited to see what he comes up with, but not more excited than I am to see Leviathan. Can't wait for that one. And that, at the end of the day, is the end of this book haul video. I thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. I do truly appreciate it. I can think of no more lies to tell. Say la vie, baby. Do-do.